World War II allowed major powers to amass lots of experience in the use of infantry units on the modern battlefield. In that war, a key role was played by motorized infantry, highly mobile units making full use of a variety of vehicles to deliver swift blows and to move across the battlefield at breakneck speed. Against the backdrop of geopolitical uncertainty in the 1950s, the Soviet military decided that their motorized and mechanized infantry needed a specialized vehicle. At the end of the decade, the goals were set. The new vehicle had to be capable of carrying troops, providing fire support for tanks, and also eliminating enemy armor on its own. It had to have sufficiently heavy armor to protect itself from autocannon fire, a powerful engine, as well as cross-country mobility and amphibious capability. 5 different teams from Chelyabinsk, Bryansk, and a few other cities rose to the task. Soon, the Ministry of Defense had several projects to choose from, with different chassis and layouts for the troop compartment. In some ways, they were widely different. For example, there were wheeled, tracked, and half-tracked designs. In other ways, they were strictly the same. For instance, all of them were required to use the same weapon, the 73mm 2A28 Grom gun, equipped with an autoloader. This armament was created in Tula, its development directly linked specifically to one of the SPG-9 recoilless guns. The compact, quick-firing Grom, capable of firing heat projectiles, was supposed to become the new vehicle's trump card in engagements against tanks. Ultimately, the military went with the Object 765 made by the Chelyabinsk Tractor Works. It was a 13-ton tracked vehicle with a UTD diesel engine mounted in the front and a troop compartment that could carry up to 8 soldiers. Apart from the Grom, it was also armed with the Malyutka ATGM. The final version of the prototype was accepted into service in 1966. It was designated the Boyevaya Mashina Pechoty, or BMP for short, meaning Infantry Fighting Vehicle. It swiftly replaced the BTR-50 and other similar vehicles of the previous era. Soon, the Soviets tested the BMP in several small-scale conflicts, and during the 1970s, Arab armies used it in the Arab-Israeli War. It's worth noting that despite being an impressive piece of engineering, the Grom gun, even with its heat rounds, proved to be less effective against enemy forces than the Soviets had hoped, especially enemy armor. In all other ways, the BMP-1 performed really well. It was a modern, highly effective design with several thousand vehicles exported to the countries of the Warsaw Pact and their allies. Sometimes variations serving in other countries were different from the Soviet original. For example, while the tankers of East Germany used regular Soviet BMPs, the Chinese ZBD-86 variant was armed with a new Chinese-made ATGM. There were several upgrades introduced to the BMP in the USSR as well. For instance, there was the BMP-1P version that lost its amphibious capability, but received additional armor and the more effective Concourse ATGM. By the middle of the 1970s, the Soviets accumulated enough combat experience with the BMP-1 to warrant the development of an updated and improved model, with separate development programs in Chelyabinsk and Kurgan. Most notably, the armament was changed to the 2A42 30mm autocannon that had better elevation. It was also mounted in a brand new enlarged 2-man turret. Furthermore, the new IFV was fitted with the Concourse ATGM, was modified to give the vehicle extra ground clearance, and received many other changes. The first BMPs of the second generation were tested out during the early 1980s in Afghanistan. and it's fair to say that the Soviet tankers appreciated the quick-firing autocannon much more than the old gun. The engineering team in Chelyabinsk favored a Grom-like armament, so in the end, it was the Kurgan version that made it into production as the BMP-2. Vehicles serving in Afghanistan were also fitted with an additional layer of armor. This version was known as the BMP-2D. The BMP-2 is still in service in the Russian Federation, Ukraine, Finland, and many other countries, and engineers of the world are still coming up with new modifications that can make it more effective in combat. One of these modifications is available in War Thunder. We're talking about the BMP-2M, equipped with the Bereshok combat module. It was also armed with the Kornet ATGM that allows you to launch 2 missiles almost simultaneously using a single laser beam. Furthermore, after a few years, a team at the Kurgan machine-building plant, led by Alexander Blagoravov, started to work on a next-generation infantry combat vehicle, the BMP-3, incorporating the experience accumulated while developing an experimental light tank known as the Object 685. In comparison with its predecessors, the BMP-3 came with brand new weapons, a new troop compartment, and better armor. Also, the engine was put conventionally in the back of the vehicle to the right and under the floor so that troops could move over it. The turret of the vehicle was fitted with a 100mm gun, capable of firing both conventional shells and ATGMs, and there was also a 2A-72 autocannon mounted coaxially in the turret, providing the crew with both high-caliber firepower and the flexibility of Basnya ATGM. After the distinction of the Soviet Union, the BMP-3 was highly sought after due to its excellent capabilities. Apart from Russia, the list of its operators includes the United Arab Emirates, South Korea, and a number of other nations. The upgraded turret of the BMP-3, known as the Bakhchau turret, is used on the BMD-4, the BMD-4M, and a number of other experimental vehicles. It's widely believed that the USSR was the first to create a vehicle that had all the features expected of a modern IFV. The brainchild of Soviet engineers proved to be extremely versatile, equally effective at carrying troops, eliminating enemy tanks, or even downing low-flying aircraft like helicopters. What is your experience in using the famous Soviet IFV? We'd love it if you'd tell us in the comments below.